listening to Grace Sharkey on FreightWaves Radio, here on Road Dog Trucking Radio, SiriusXM 146.
Welcome back, everyone, to FreightWaves Drive Time. Whoa, losing my mind. The week is wrapping up. It feels like a Friday for me, but here we are. I do know where I am. I'm on FreightWaves Drive Time. Happy to be here, too, because we've got a fun little announcement. Little is probably not anywhere close to how extreme this is. I want to give a shout out to OneRail. So not only did we get a chance to honor this company at our FreightWaves Freight Tech Awards this year at F3, but on this very same day, they announced they raised a nice little $42 million in a Series C that we'll get into here in a second, what the company plans to do for that. But I want to, of course, introduce our guest founder and CEO of OneRail, Bill Catania. How are you doing, Bill? Thank you for joining us here on the show.
Grace, it's great to be here. I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed getting to know the folks at FreightWaves the last few years. I met Craig, and you know, from announcing our first round of financing until our Series C, you guys have always been there as a great partner.
Hey, I appreciate it. And honestly, it's, I'm excited and was very excited to see you all on the top 25 and even more so of that 25 in total. I think you were, if not the only, one of the only last mile logistics technologies out there as well, which I really want to dive into but for maybe our audience who doesn't know much about OneRail today, can you share a little bit of what OneRail's mission is and the solution you provide to the industry as well?
Yeah. So if you think about what Amazon did, they raised the bar, for e-commerce, and they had to sort of refactor the entire supply chain to do that. What we do is we give our customers, which are mostly retailers and wholesalers, the ability to offer Amazon-like capabilities using their existing stores and warehouses. What we do is we bring the technology, a network of 12 million drivers and a team to allow them to do same-day delivery, at 98% or better on-time rate at an affordable cost. So it really unlocks e-commerce, it unlocks fulfill from store, and it removes the friction from that.
Interesting. And can you maybe elaborate on that friction aspect, right? Because I think exactly what that means for the users of OneRail.
Yeah, so last mile is hard. Everybody knows that. It's messy. There's all kinds of different types of couriers and carriers out there that can do it. But where you start running into trouble if you're a retailer is, I have a product catalog. I have things that I'm trying to sell that are 1 pound to 10,000 pounds. Think home improvement, and Lowe's happens to be our biggest customer. So you have this big range of items that exists in 2,000 stores. How do you ensure you have the right inventory in the right place at the right time? And then if a customer wants it today, how can you ensure with 100% guarantee that you have capacity to get it to them in an hour, in 2 hours, by the end of the day, or even next day? And that's what our solution does. And our retail customers notably have problems building a network that can perform at that level. It's hard. So what we've done is we've taken a collection of retailers and wholesalers, all of our customers. We represent a lot of volume. And by having that volume, we've become a great partner to our logistics partners, companies like DoorDash and Uber, right down to mom and pops all over the country, that have box trucks and Sprinter vans. So we built the network, we connect it to capacity, we provide complete tracking. That's a big source of friction as well. As you know, we're all consumers. When we can't see where the delivery is, we don't know if the ETA changes, we start getting anxiety, we start calling the store and saying, where's my order? I'm sure you've heard the term Wizmo call, where is my order? So we solve that problem as well because everything is tracked, right down to the ETA changing second to second.
Well, and I will say too, just like maneuvering through the site, it almost feels like you're giving this I hate to say Expedia, right? Because it's just the one thing I always go to, but this a transparent Expedia relationship to last mile that gives individuals an idea of how the market's behaving, but also just the overall choices that you have, which I'm interested from your experience, seeing all these last mile providers come into the space and what's that been like for you over the last couple of years? And And even more so, do you feel like shippers are starting to understand the capacity changes that have come in the last mile space over the last couple of years and using those better to their advantage?
Yeah, there's just so much going on. So, the first thing I think relative to last mile capacity that shippers learned was you have to have a multi-carrier strategy. That's something that really emerged when there were capacity constraints, the first year to 18 months after COVID. So retailers, wholesalers, shippers of all types have been trying to find a way to get more carriers and then do it in such a way that they have full full connectivity to them, rates, the ability to have, call it a relief valve if one runs out of capacity. So that's a huge, huge dynamic that is powering, I think, a lot of retailers. It's powering their strategy is how do I get a multi-carrier strategy and do it in such a way that I don't have to do 100 integrations. So we solve that problem. One API, 1,100 carriers, a lot of them are couriers, but also be able to reach the RPCs, the regional parcel carriers as well. So that's what we do through our API. What we've seen, if you look at the courier space, a lot of retailers tend to partner with one or two couriers to see if the use case is the right use case. So call it a pilot. So
True.
We'll see them pilot with maybe DoorDash or Roadie, but then they realize those are closed loop networks. So they want to have more capacity. They want sedans all the way up through Sprinter vans to be able to handle the variable size items. So that's where we've, I think, really created a lot of opportunity for these shippers with one API. Now they can get a sedan through a flatbed. We can deliver 20,000 pounds of flooring or a 5-pound gallon of paint.
Yeah, and it's talk about like sustainability, even, right? Using all these resources that are out there. I think that's a huge part of it as well. Would you say that's finding this available capacity is also helping in that area too?
It is, and it actually goes even further than that. If you take a couple examples, for example, a customer that we have used to default to a truck for like a couple pounds of nails or a gallon of paint. And what we do is something called downshifting. So we'll take and look at the cube and the weight. What does that gallon of paint weigh? How big is it? How many cubic inches is it? And then we can match it down into a sedan and deliver it for $8 or $9. So not only is it, a third the cost, this customer happened to pay $30 to deliver something small, but we're also reducing the carbon footprint naturally, right? By taking what would have gone to a Sprinter van or a small box truck and putting it in a Prius, or who knows, maybe it's a Tesla. So there's a natural impact from sustainability that happens by doing what we do. And then the other side of that is if you think about what we call batching, there's a lot of hotshot delivery, going right from store to customer. What we do is we'll batch a number of orders and then we'll deploy a bigger vehicle, and we can reduce the carbon footprint by 40-50% by doing that, because now if you have 10 items being delivered, that would have been 20 trips, theoretically. Now it's one route. And what we're doing right now, we've been tuned into sustainability. We recently implemented practices to really understand OneRail's carbon footprint, but now we're building sustainability measurement into the platform so our customers can know how many miles did we save? How many millions of miles did we save? How many times did we downshift? And what's the carbon footprint impact of going from a box truck down to a sedan? So those are some things that are important to us. And I have to point out, you mentioned our funding round. Element Capital led that round, and they're highly focused on sustainability, as was our B round investor.
I love right. Perfect matchup. And let's hold right there, because when we get back, we'll dive into that investment and what this means for last mile logistics and OneRail going into 25. If anyone has any questions, give us a call, 8888 Road Dog or 888-876-2336.
Join the conversation now on FreightWaves Radio with Grace Sharkey. FreightWaves Drive Time continues right now with Grace Sharkey.
Welcome back, everyone, to FreightWaves Drive Time. I am Grace Sharkey, and we're here with the founder and CEO of OneRail. And Bill, I got to tell you a little story because it's funny when I got a chance to announce the Freight Tech Awards this year at F3. Usually it's Craig and Kaylee, but I think Craig had some stuff to do, and so Kaylee's like, "Do you want to do it with me?" And whenever you're taking Craig's spot, it's kind of a big deal. So I was like getting really anxious and like getting all my notes
Oh, yeah.
together, and I'm like, "Oh wait, these guys just like raise." And so then I'm like, should I write the article? Should I get ready on stage? So it's like, it was one of those where I was like, oh, great news. Like, I'll just kill two birds with one stone in this conversation. But I was really happy to see that. I think that showcases, right, how great our Freight Tech Awards are and showcasing who's the best and the brightest out there. And yes, you did just close on a wonderful $42 million Series C funding. And I'm interested if you could, maybe touch on a little bit of those partnerships with those investors, what you're excited for, and what this is looking to help OneRail grow into.
Well, first of all, it was a major honor, and I want to thank you, for that recognition of being in the Freight Tech 25. It's something we've aspired to do. We have a lot of respect, for all the companies in the top 100, but that top 25 is pretty special. So we really appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that it's an industry recognition that you can only get by really getting the support of the industry who votes for that. So there's a lot of integrity behind that process, and we appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, big day, right? We announced the round, and then I find that out, and, it was crazy. But our focus, the partnership we have with Element is really strong. We weren't raising capital. A lot of people don't know that. We weren't raising, and they came in and said, hey, we want to partner with you. We believe in what OneRail's doing. And, for a lot of the reasons, that we've been talking about, we're kind of a category of one company. We do provide kind of a next-gen solution to what's been a real difficult problem, and it's done in a way that is environmentally friendly and supports their mission. So we found them to be the right partner. They've been helping us commercially as well, connect with potential shippers. So they're just a great partner. We had the support of all of our current investors in this round as well, like Iron Spring, who had several companies in the top 25. So all that said, what are we going to do with this capital? And I remember, in the earlier days of being a startup CEO, thinking, what do these companies do with all these millions of dollars? Like, first of all, how do you get $42 million, and then what are you going to do with it? And I can tell you, I can find a lot of ways to spend it. It's not so hard for me to figure out anymore.
I love that.
Right. I mean, it's easy now. I have a lot of context, but number one, I mean, we're tripling down on data science. Data science is at the root of how we optimize transportation. So when I say optimize transportation, we've built an algorithm, and we've utilized AI in our solution for 4 years. AI is not new to us. What we do is we essentially provide a score for every courier in every market, and it indexes to a time of day based on demand. It indexes to on-time rates, loss runs, propensity to cancel an order. Think of it like a credit score, for the courier. That basis is how we rank the dispatch. But that basis also helps us optimize the sizing, which is, can we put a bathtub in a minivan? And the answer is we can. First delivery we ever did for Lowe's was a bathtub in a minivan. And they were so excited about that because, first of all, it costs a third of what it would have cost if it was in a bigger asset. That's really the big thing. So at the end of the day, what makes OneRail unique is that we give our customers one rate card like Lowe's, but we have rate cards with many couriers, over 1,000 couriers. So they don't have to wonder what their costs are going to be. And we're perpetually trying to find ways to reduce costs. So data science is really at the center of that. We have an EVP of data science and AI. His name's David Dashler. And David's going to be blowing his team out. We're getting 2 or 3 senior data scientists, team analysts, because we're that category of one that's aggregating all these last mile carriers. We have data that nobody else has, which is from sedan to flatbed. or 26-foot box truck, we know performance data, price data, being able to use all that data to, again, increase quality and reduce cost, and also be a good partner to our carriers, giving them, loads or deliveries that they want that's profitable for them too, is really what we do. So that's number one, is double down, triple down on data science. The second thing is, we acquired a company this year. Gosh, it feels like we've had 10 years in this year, but we acquired a company back in June called OrderBot, and it's an order management and inventory solution. And that's something that I think got a lot of people's attention because they thought, wow, you're a last mile company. What are you doing buying an order management system? And it's real simple. My vision from day one for what this company can be has been to merge inventory, visibility, and order management and delivery all into one transaction. So instead of having 3 or 4 transactions where inventory talks to order management and then it tries to decide if the inventory is available today or tomorrow, but then it passes it off to transportation and it makes a decision, but it might not be optimized based on location. That's how it works with most systems of record. What we're doing is we're making that transaction happen like a credit card swipe so that all 3 things are talking to each other at the same time, so we can pick the right store at the right time to make sure inventory is in full for the whole order, not just half the order. Because if you don't do that, you end up with split orders. You end up, as a consumer, maybe you're ordering 10 things, you get 9 from your courier and you get another thing by FedEx or UPS 3 days later. And that's just not efficient. It's not efficient for anybody. So we're really putting a lot of work into merging, OrderBot's capabilities with OneRail's capabilities. And we're also putting a lot of effort into partnerships like IBM. IBM is a 40+% market share of retail for order management. OneRail can be consumed now through Sterling. So that whole process of picking the right store at the right time and knowing the inventory is there and knowing that you're getting the lowest, highest quality transportation can all be done through IBM Sterling. So we're really investing in the partnerships and in putting even more work into our platform.
Love that.
And then the third thing is probably what everybody would expect, which is we're growing the sales team, growing the marketing effort. Our goal, we're currently active in 400 cities across the U.S. and Canada. We have complete penetration in North America. Now we're starting to think about international a little bit. And then also tackling some new verticals like healthcare. We just signed one of the big 3 healthcare companies to do pharmacy distribution. That's an interesting vertical. It's one that's trying to become more efficient, but also have expediency. So those are kind of the 3 areas.
Well, unfortunately, I am running out a little bit of time here, about 40 seconds for you. For our audience, if they want to learn more about what you're working on, what's the best place for them to go to?
Well, thank you. OneRail.com, ONERAIL.com. And you can see everything we do and get in touch with us through there. I appreciate that, Grace.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate your work again. Happy to see that the work that you're doing made that top list. Of course, we'll work on having you back on the show in 2025, as I'm sure you'll be busy trying to figure out where to spend that $42 million. So thank you again for joining the show. Means more than you know. And for our audience, we're going to wrap up this show. We'll be back on Tuesday for our last ladies' night of the year. And then we'll have a couple more episodes left for the season. Until then, everyone, drive safe, especially if you're in the Midwest. Drive safe, and I'll talk with you on Tuesday.